Hello everyone. Today we are going to be playing more IL-2. It's been I think 2 weeks since I've done an IL-2 stream, and I'm excited to get back into the swing of things. And today we're going to be doing familiarization with the famous P-51 Mustang, the poster aircraft of the U.S. World War II Army Air Force. I'm gonna probably do some of the boring stuff up front, specs, stats, and all that. But that's stuff that is important to know for using the aircraft properly. So for general stuff, uses a Packard engine that is a licensed copy of a Merlin engine that the Spitfires used. So it's got a very good power to weight ratio. We can look at that in a minute. Its armament is 6 Browning M2 50 cal machine gun, so it carries a decent amount of firepower. Though with the advent of games like War Thunder and such, the firepower of the 50 cal tends to come into question a lot more. However, if you look in the historical context, most of the U.S. aircraft weren't fighting heavy bombers, unlike the German aircraft, which had to shoot down the Allied heavy bombers. They needed the big cannons for that. The U.S. aircraft were primarily shooting lightly armored Bf-109s and other German medium bombers, as the U.S. would classify them. So the 50 cals were supposed to be fairly good, especially because they carry a good amount of ammo for each gun. All right, so we're going to move over to the specs. So I've got a spec sheet up. This is a spec sheet I made quite a while back of all the aircraft, and I've got it filtered to the aircraft we're more likely to encounter if we start a campaign for this aircraft today. You can see the P-51 is right here, and then we've got some Bf-109s, the G4 and the G6. I don't really know what the differences are between them other than what the specs state, but we'll see that the P-51 and all this information is in the standard loadout, which I don't know if I've got the standard fuel load here, but it, yeah, I don't think it's. I don't know what those are offhand, but we'll still look at these anyway because they're pretty useful for data. So we see that the P-51 in standard configuration, which I do suspect is fairly heavy because American aircraft carried a lot of fuel since they had to fly across the English Channel for a good portion of the war. And the P-51 actually has a reserve, it has 3 fuel tanks, one in each wing and then one behind the pilot. And it is really not designed to engage in combat with that third fuel tank full, because it's expected to burn up that fuel before it gets to the fight. So we see our service ceiling is a bit higher. I can't even imagine at this point getting to these kinds of altitudes for combat because I've never flown missions on the Western Front, only the Eastern Front, the Germany versus Russia area. And most of that is about 3,000 and below for meters of altitude. Our climb rate, we're just a little bit slower, 2 meters per second slower. And then we do get a bit more of that gap opening up as altitude increases. But we see that we've got about a full second quicker turn rate at low altitudes, but at high altitudes we kind of lose that. Then there is standard wing load. So the wing load with standard, so this is kilograms of aircraft per square meter of the wing. The P-51 is a bit heavier. Hi XC, do I stream when you're not sleeping? Well, you're in a European time zone, and I mostly stream late at night. Are you sleeping now? Yeah, I know. Well, normally I stream at about 6 to 7 p.m., so I don't know what's wrong with your clock, 6E. Uh, well, uh, I'm just about done with the overview. So the gist of it is that our aircraft is going to be about on par or slightly worse than most of the other aircraft that we engage. Although it's a little odd that our turn rate is better at low altitudes and worse at higher altitudes, but we do have a much higher turning speed. So you, thanks for the follow. All right, I'm going to put away the boring specs, and I'm going to. We're going to just start off by just some dogfighting. Normally, for aircraft familiarization, I start off with just takeoffs and landings, but I've taken the P-51 off and landed it a couple times, so hopefully things will go well, and it generally handles pretty well for an aircraft. So we're going to give ourselves a G4 opponent. I think I can check off some of these. There we go. Start at. We'll leave it at 300 or 3,000 meters for now. I'm going to give myself a 1,000 meter advantage. I'm doing well, Soyu. How are you? All right. Since we've got someone who probably doesn't know much about aircraft, let me explain a bit about the overlay. So the bottom next to the chat for the stream, I have a whole bunch of dials, and the most important ones for viewers to know about is really at the top left, there's my airspeed, and that's in miles per hour. Below that, there is a flight coordination indicator that lets you know if I am side slipping or not. That's important because if you're side slipping, you're losing energy, and energy is important. But also, if you're side slipping in certain maneuvers, it can be the difference between a gentle stall or throwing your aircraft into a spin. Then top right is just the turn and bank indicator, or rather pitch and roll indicator, sorry. And those are the most important ones. The other ones, like, in some aircraft, it's really scary because you get thrown into a spin and it's really hard to recover from. Others, it's a case where you get thrown into a spin and you take your hands off the controls and then it recovers and then you just gently pull up. I think the P-51 is pretty gentle in that respect. All right, so make sure this is set up. We'll go start the mission. There was one aircraft that I think it was the Lag 3. It's a Russian aircraft. It spins very, very violently and unexpected for I don't really know why. It's got a derivative aircraft, an LA-5, that doesn't spin anywhere near as badly as it does. All right, so we're going to set up our aircraft. Unfortunately, I don't have any fun anime skins for this aircraft because I don't make them unless I fly an aircraft quite a bit. Just throw some numbers on there. I don't have an anime girl photo either, so we're just going to do no photo. For modifications, I'm going to pick the gyro gun sight, which is going to make gunnery really easy. And then I'm going to take a mirror, because mirrors are very helpful. Then ammunition we'll leave as it is. See, we've got 1,800 rounds of 50 cal ammo. And then for fuel, we don't need like any fuel at all. And thankfully, this aircraft, instead of spawning with 100% fuel by default, the devs make it 69 nice percent, because at 69%, your rear fuel tank is drained. And so instead of having your center of mass further back, which makes you really unstable, it's more where it's supposed to be for dogfighting. And we don't need more than 50% in most aircraft in most cases.
Caution.
Hey, Feet Man, thanks for the follow. All right, and then we will start. We'll see if we can get everything running well.
Search for enemy aircraft. Free to engage. Out.
All right, we'll roll. Hang for just a little bit. He's coming up at us. All right, let's dodge. Okay, he didn't get a shot on us. Oh, we're pulling hard G's, so we got to let off. Where did he go? We've got the easy markers on, so they'll tell us where he is.
Search for enemy aircraft. Free to engage. Out.
I'm kind of wondering what the deal is with my engine right now, because my engine should be in combat mode. I don't have quite time. I've got my throttle slammed to full. Maybe I need to change my supercharger. Okay, it's an automatic, but this is why I do familiarization, because I'm trying to figure out what I'm gonna run into during combat before I try to do like a campaign mission or anything. Oh. So that was a flat spin. Still kind of is. Alright. But we recovered. We did lose a bunch of altitude from that. And now we're at a lower altitude. Where did he go? We're at a lower altitude, so our engine is performing differently. Where did that guy go? Where is he? I can cheat with the map. He is back into my left. So we will... Oh. Well, we got a maneuver kill because he just like dove down, and I guess that counts as a win. Alright, I'm pulling hard in the stick, so let me get my pitch trim adjusted so I don't have to keep pulling on the stick too hard to stay level. He is coming down on me, so we're gonna roll and brake turn into him. He's gonna overshoot us. We're gonna roll back. We'll try to get a gunshot on this guy. He might have made enough mistakes for us to do this. Fighting the AI in this game can be pretty tricky because the AI is not prone to making too many basic mistakes when flying. But then they will also proceed to make very, very basic mistakes while flying. It's a little weird. Alright, so he's at about 0.5 kilometers. Our guns are zeroed for about 250 meters, so we got to get about within 250 meters to get a good shot on him. Our lead is going to be a lot easier because we've got this 6 dot and a center dot pip on our aircraft gun sight. That is our gyro gun sight. It should help calculate lead for us. So we just have to put that on the target and then we should hit. Although we are not catching up, so let's throw our engine into emergency mode. So for context in this game, I have to manage, in this aircraft, I have to manage throttle and propeller RPM to change engine modes, and there's limitations for how long I can use the different engine modes. So this emergency mode is 5 minutes, and after that there's a risk that my engine will break. The other mode I was in before was combat. Oh, looks like we got some hits on him. Let's try to get some more. Uh, the other one engine mode I was in was combat. That's good for about 15 minutes. And you mainly adjust the throttle on the RPM to switch modes. Oh, so something fell off. He is leaking something. Let's try to break off a little bit. We'll see if he goes down. Don't hesitate to ask questions because there's a lot of learning in these games. This is a huge step up from something like War Thunder that hides a lot of the systems in the background. Although arguably, a lot of this is simpler with if you were, say, flying a German aircraft. Because if I was flying the aircraft I'm shooting at right now, all I would have to manage in terms of the engine would be the throttle. So I would just throttle up if I want to go faster, throttle down if I want to go slower. And then the one thing you do have to keep in mind with that is that if you also have different engine modes, so you can't use too much throttle for too long. It's a bit similar to this aircraft. You just in the German aircraft, in this case, you don't get you don't have to deal with propeller control. Alright, looks like he's going down. I'll try to stay with him, but I don't want to dive too hard. Try to make sure I'm not pulling too high of G's either. Yeah, and unlike War Thunder, this game has G-forces that you have to keep in account, and your pilot will actually get tired if you pull too many G's for too long. So the more you pull G's, and the higher the G's you pull, the less G's you'll be able to pull later. That's there's no need to try to attack parachuters. Alright, the next guy's above me. He's going to start with an energy advantage. Oh, he's already on me. Let's try to turn into him. Where did he go? I lost sight of him, which is really not good. Oh, he's over there. He's turning, so we're going to turn into him again. He's at a high angle to us, so we're going to roll over and come back into him. We're in a bit of what's known as a flat scissors here. We're both trying to force an overshoot. Well, I'm trying to force an overshoot. He's trying to stay on me. And for this, I'm going to need more engine power, so let's get all the way up to max engine power. And I'm really not paying attention to my flight coordination indicator when I really need to. We're going to keep coming around like this until one of us messes up. Actually, I'm going to just try to turn with him. Oh, oh! Oh boy. Alright, so I messed up. I'm going to break off. I'm going to take my engine out of emergency mode. Where is he? He's above me. He's now behind me. And he's down and to the right, so let's go after him. Alright. We are now behind him. Let's see where he is. Try to line up for a good gunshot. Let's put our engine back into emergency mode. Come on, just gotta pull with him. I gotta make sure I stay coordinated while I'm doing this too, so I don't stall out. And just get the pip on him, pull a little bit harder. No, oh, we did get something. You just lost a wingtip.
Drop command.
Yeah,
Lead.
there's
Search
no
and destroy
recovering from
aircraft.
that.
Free to engage. Out.
All right, let's
This is Red
go.
Hawk.
We'll finish this
Engaging.
mission, and then we'll
Roger.
try
To the
to start up a
northeast.
campaign.
Range 2.5.
Exit this. We'll go to a pilot career. We will create a new one. Uh, Battle of Rhineland should be the one I'm looking for. We could pick Great Britain, USA, or Germany, so we're going to pick the US, because that's what our aircraft is from. I don't have the B5, which is the Razorback P-51. It's called a Razorback because it's got this back part here, whereas the other one, P-51D, is bubble canopy. And this game's a little weird because most of the time the allies are red and the Axis are blue. So that gets a little bit confusing sometimes. That's why the enemy aircraft are blue when they appear. All right, so we want to fly these guys, I think. We're just going to pick the one that's closest to the front line. And we'll start. Name our pilot. I will say that I'm going to fly from the beginning because that lets me skip boring missions. Oh, I should have looked at the backstories because I haven't done the U.S. backstories before.
The situation on the Western Front in
Ooh,
mid-December
we get an intro.
1944 finds the Germans in full retreat and the Allies advancing more quickly towards the German border than
Oh,
expected.
Feetman,
However,
you're
British
assuming
troops fatigue.
that I know what I'm doing. I barely know what I'm doing. I've basically just gotten good enough that I don't get shot down all the time. And there's a whole lot to learn in how dogfighting works. It can be pretty complicated, but the people who really know what they're doing, they make it look so simple because they're just doing things. Yeah, some of these aircraft just flying is a pain. If you see some of my earlier streams where I was flying the MiG-3, there's a whole bunch of me failing to take off and landing poorly because some of these aircraft were really not nice to take off in. I'm noticing that some of my dials were moving when nothing was going on, which is weird. So it looks like we're going to be in winter. Yeah, if we look, we're our south wind 4 meters per second, -4 Celsius, clouds at 2,500 meters. I've earned my pilot's badge. Woo! All right, let's see. We've got a bomber escort mission. I think that is going to be pretty boring. I'm going to say that no, this guy has to do it, and we're just going to skip that mission for now. Bomber escort missions can be really painful because you just have to continually weave back and forth above the bomber formation to make sure that your speed is up, but also not lose your bombers. Oh, and it looks like we lost 2 aircraft and 1 pilot got injured. So the next day, All right, similar weather conditions. Clouds are a bit lower. We got 2 more P-51Bs. We got an additional P-51D, and we got 2 new pilots. Another bomber escort mission. This might be. Oh, let me adjust some other options. Career speed is rapid, difficulty is moderate, and dense. I kind of really don't want to fly a bomber escort mission. The other option is I can switch to, I'm going to skip one more mission, and if it's still giving us these, I'm going to switch to a different campaign generator. And that should give us a bit more variety, and we don't have to go through all this skip missions. We can just say, we want this mission, and it'll give us that. Is this one of those games where you fly straight for an hour and then get shot down immediately? That has been my experience in multiplayer. In For the Eastern Front, which is most of what I've played, most missions are less than 20 minutes. Sometimes you get rare ones where you're flying around for like 40. And usually those longer ones are more eventful because you did things. But I don't know how they handled the Western Front, because the Western Front, you literally... Okay, escort bombers again. No thanks, game. I'm going to fire up a different utility. I'll see if I've got this thing set up on... Yep, I do. So I've got this other campaign generator. I'm going to try to go make a new campaign. So we want to fly as the United States Army Air Force. We'll name it. We'll do single player. Hit complete. Name our player. Campaign, all maps, although it's really just going to be Bodenplatte, because Normandy isn't actually out yet. I'm going to play as a fighter. I'm going to give myself the highest rank so I can, again, always lead the flights and always tell people to shut up and not be dumb. The option, we're going to do the 362nd because it has the P-51D. Oh yeah, multiplayer in this is pretty awful. My experience, especially if you play the Russian aircraft, because there's all the people who play the German aircraft, and the German aircraft in this actually do have an advantage, just because they kind of outperform the Russian aircraft in every way, shape, and form. And then everybody's like, oh, the romance of flying a Bf-109. Oh, I want to fly it. So you'll get like, yeah, you'll almost always get the German teams with more pilots on them than the Russian teams. However, thankfully, since the US aircraft were added to this game, because they weren't in it from the start, but since the US aircraft were added, whenever it is Germany versus the US team always has the advantage, just in terms of number of players. But oddly enough, even though the German players always have the player advantage, and they always end up with the most air-to-air kills, in most missions on servers that I've seen, the Russian players tend to win because they play to the objectives. And while the German players are all flying well above the clouds up really high, the Russian players are all just flying low and bombing targets, because you gotta bomb targets to win. All right, so we're gonna do a mission, and it is a what is it? It is a bomb targets. So we're going to scrub that mission, and then we're gonna do another mission. Intercept enemy aircraft. Yes. And this time, mission details are important, so I'm going to go edit the mission details for my overlay. So we've got heavy clouds at 3,500 meters. Our wind is a pretty hefty 6 meters per second from heading 307. Those are important numbers. I put them up on my overlay specifically because I will forget them. And let me fix this goal so it's not covering it. And we'll go to map. We'll see we get this takeoff, climb, ingress, and we've got some patrol markers. This should be pretty short of a flight, I think. And we'll go to waypoints, and we'll look at. So we're at 4,000 meters, which is higher than I'm used to. Well, I'd say is higher than what I'm used to, but it's not actually higher than what I'm used to. I would usually just say screw the waypoint altitudes and I just fly high. But this is higher than what this normally generates. It's about twice as high than what I've seen it usually generate for the Eastern Front. Next pilots, we got 4. I can't do the B5, so I have to do. Uh-oh. Let's give you that aircraft, and then I'm going to take the D-15. Yeah, there's a lot of information in this game to deal with. I've actually got a little, not a sticky note because I don't have sticky notes, but a little square of paper that gives me a whole bunch of information that I need to know offhand for this aircraft. So it's my turn speed is 183 miles per hour. Actually, I'll list this off after we get into the mission because I don't want to slow everything down, and we'll certainly have time where we're just not really doing anything, and I can list this off. Now it's generating a mission file. Loading bar is a separate window, so it doesn't pop up in OBS, of course. Yeah, you can get away without doing it, but it becomes a lot harder because if you ever turn speeds are important because if you ever end up in a turn fight, you really need to know it. I need to know it specifically for this aircraft for 2 reasons. First off, most aircraft in this game are 270 kilometers per hour turn speed. This one has to have a different one. It's like 295. And then even better, all of the instruments for the P-51 are in English units. And all of the, so I need to know that in English units as opposed to metric, so I can actually read it off my dial. All right, we're going to go to missions. Here we go. Mika US, we got that intercept mission, so we'll start. Yeah, I think this game has caused me to curse the English system the most because switching from like Russian to German aircraft is no big deal because everything is in kilometers per hour, but then switching to American aircraft sucks because you have to figure out what everything is in miles per hour. And like I know offhand that most aircraft are fine if you're coming in for a landing at about 200 kilometers an hour and you want to try to be at about 200 kilometers an hour as well before you take off. So that's easy. Those are fine. It's easy to switch between those aircraft, but then I have to switch to the American aircraft and it's the same speeds, but in miles per hour. And I just have to figure that out. Ooh, so we're getting as standard. I don't care about this Bendix loop. This is a radio homing beacon thing. We get a cheaty map that'll tell us where we are, so we don't care about that. But we've got the gyro gun sight, and then we get 150 octane fuel. So that just means that we can go up to a higher manifold pressure, which is how you rate what your throttle is at, basically. And we've got the mirror. You can see the mirror right up there. And 50% fuel, convergence 250 meters. That looks good. We'll accept, and then we will start. So in this campaign generator, we're going to have to take off by ourselves manually.
Cleared for takeoff. Taking off. Out.
I'll open the canopy so I can see in front of me. We can lean out, see where everything in front of us is clear. I'll get my lights set up. Now, for me, this aircraft is very nice and easy to fly because I don't have to manage oil and fuel radiators, and I don't have to manage fuel mixture. Because normally we'd start off and I have to make sure my prop RPM is right. I have to adjust my fuel mixture. I have to adjust oil and water radiators, but I don't have to do most of that. I just pretty much have to check my prop RPM and then throttle up. We'll hold the brakes down a bit, throttle up. I can't throttle to full in this aircraft because it will flip itself over. So I'm gonna just let it go. We use the pedals to keep it on the runway. As we accelerate forward, we start to pull to the left. So we have to use right rudder. We roll to get our nose down, and then we get up to speed and we can take off. Lift the landing gear up. Let me get my pitch trimmer up so I stay in the air nicely. Close the canopy. Now that we're airborne, I'm gonna drop the RPM down and try to get my engine back into normal control, or normal mode. And it needs to be, if you see this dial right here in the center of my screen that says man press, that's the manifold pressure, and for normal I have to be below 46. So I have to be about there, but I also get a little notification on the top, or on the right side of my screen. It's called Tech Chat. It'll tell you what engine mode you're in. Let me adjust my pitch trimmer. So Tech Chat will tell you like everything that I'm actually doing aside from regular control inputs. So if I adjust my throttle, it'll pop up and it'll tell you that. Propeller RPM, it'll tell you that. Those two will typically stay up there because they're adjusted frequently enough, or because my control axes are a little jittery for those. Alright, up to the next waypoint. And I'm gonna have to make sure that I'm not losing my allies. Yeah, they're close enough behind me. It's nice to not have to be one of the people flying to stay in formation, because formation flying is kind of really hard to do. Or it's not really hard to do, but it takes a lot of concentration to manage. And if you are watching the little ball indicator in the bottom left on my overlay, you'll probably see it bouncing around a bit, because that happens when we're in turbulence. Need to adjust my roll trimmer just a bit because the aircraft wants to roll over. Check our allies, they are behind us. Good. Okay, so about the little card I have with information. So I've got my turn speed, so I know that for optimal turn speed I have to be at 183 miles per hour. The next most important thing I have is my velocity never exceed, which is if your aircraft exceeds that, you start losing parts, and that's very bad. That's 505 miles an hour. Takeoff speed, 125 miles an hour. Landing, glide slope of 130 miles per hour, and touchdown at about 120. And then I know that my engine has an unlimited time in cruise mode at 2,700 RPM and 46 inches of manifold pressure. The combat mode is 3,000 RPM and 61 inches, and then emergency power is, in this case, 75 inches at 300 RPM as well. That seems like a lot to remember, but all I really have to remember is that the 37% or a 2700 RPM is normal, is continuous mode, and if I want to get out of that, I put my prop RPM up to higher, and we've got that pretty high crosswind, so I have to watch myself while I'm turning here. Flying up under some clouds, which is typically more turbulence. And we'll see if we can't use our radar. We're going to be a little unstable here because of all this turbulence, although it's really not too bad of turbulence. It's just enough that I can't like take my hands off the controls for too long. I jokingly call this map my radar because in the game difficulty settings I'm on, it'll show me enemy aircraft that are within what the game thinks is my field of view, or my view distance. I've been getting better at spotting them before the game tags them for me, though. Alright, we're about to enter a cloud. And entering a cloud will not be fun because we'll have to fly blind. So I'll be using that pitch and roll indicator primarily to make sure I'm not suddenly rolling over or anything. Getting some water on our windshield. I can't see my allies anymore. Actually, I think they are going to fly below the cloud. Let's just push our throttle up, and I'm going to try to climb a bit more to get out of this cloud quickly. There we go. And surprisingly, I'm able to push my throttle up higher. Let's check our supercharger mode. I'm not used to having to deal with a supercharger. Alright, so we get automatic in gear 1, so we're just going to leave that in automatic and we don't have to worry about that. Most aircraft in World War II have either a supercharger or a turbocharger. Supercharger is it compresses air to shove into the engine so that you can put more fuel in and get more power out of it. A turbocharger uses the exhaust gases to spin a turbine and compress that instead of taking engine power to do it. But the turbo is more efficient at it, but it is a lot more bulky. We are getting bounced around again by more turbulence. Try to stay flying nice. Oh, and our radar is showing us a flight of 4 and then a flight of 2, it looks like. How high up they are, I don't know. If they're below us, it's going to be hard to see them because of all this cloud cover we've got right now. And it looks like they're engaging a flight of 3. Oh, what's with my engine suddenly trying to take off here? I had my throttle at 100% and the manifold pressure was just staying where it was, but we suddenly had it jump up. I'm not too used to having to manage these kinds of engine limitations. Hi Skull TRD, next stage, what do you mean? Oh, supercharger stage? Oh, that might be it. The supercharger just changed gears. Alright, so we got a whole bunch of enemy aircraft flying around, it looks like. And our allies are Excuse me. What are you doing? Orders. Cover me.
Cover me. Out.
Please don't fly off. Oh boy, they are... Okay, it looks like I can't control these guys, so I'm gonna have to fly and just stick with them if I don't want to get killed all by myself. Looks like they're just going to intercept these targets, so that shouldn't be too bad if they're gonna fly off on their own and do that. And you guys probably can't see it on stream, but right where I'm looking, I'm seeing 4 dots of aircraft, 5 dots of aircraft.
Target destroyed.
They're like a 1 pixel tall
Target destroyed.
target on my screen.
Target destroyed.
Alright, we've got our 2 bozos here,
Bomber. To the northwest. Range half mile.
and the enemies are coming up at us from front left. So we're flanking them. It's a Focke-Wulf 190. I don't remember their specs on hand, but they are very powerful engined aircraft. We're going to try to bounce him, I think. I didn't arm my guns, so I've got my joystick armed now. Was hoping we would have gotten a decent shot at him in that high angle attack, but we didn't. I'm going to throw my engine into emergency mode. We'll try to catch up with him, see if we can't. Maybe we started with more energy, so we should. This is Pat Wilson's campaign generator that we're playing right now. I've just started this campaign because the vanilla one was only giving me bomber escort missions. Alright, we're catching up with him. We gotta pull hard, pull hard. Come on. I'm gonna overshoot him. Let's go high. And let's roll over to him. We'll follow him down through this cloud cover. Check our tail real quick, nothing. Come on, pull hard. I can't see if I hit him with this cloud cover. I have no idea what orientation I'm even in. Okay, there we go. Now I can actually see something. We're gonna punch it to full throttle, and I'm gonna try to climb above these clouds again. Let's drop out of emergency mode, just go to regular combat mode and continuous. We'll try to get back in and re-engage. We've got some flak bursts above us. I don't know how flak is shooting us up here. Check our tail. I'm getting pretty bad about not checking that. We'll check our map so we know where our targets are. We've got that, I think that 190 is down there. He's got a marker so we can keep tally on him. I'm gonna take a closer look and adjust my prop RPM. Alright. We got a whole mess of aircraft here. 3 and 3, although looks like one's disengaging. I'm so not used to having these radio messages in English. It's throwing me for a loop a little bit. Alright, there's that 190. Let's go meet him. Coming in behind him, he's giving us a nice line up. Let's try to make sure we don't spoil this. We got some. Oh, we got hits on him and he's down. Nice, nice. Let's go for the next one. I'm not used to the rudder sensitivity of this aircraft, so I'm really having trouble staying coordinated. Plus, we've got that pretty high wind. We're pulling some high Gs. I don't know if we can keep this up. We'll hope that he'll come out in front of us and straighten out. Alright, he did. He's turning a bit hard, so we might... Oh, he's giving us a good shot. I think we grazed him just a little bit. Let's try to line up for another one. Oh, I'm going to overshoot him. I'm going to go high and try to not overshoot him. Roll over. Try to come back on. Try to stay with him in these maneuvers. Come on. He's diving down. Let's try to add some throttle. Make sure we keep up with him. Because if I can just get my guns on target. I've never said I'm a good at gunnery in this. Come on. This gyro gun sight I've also got very little experience with. That alarm is me having my engine at idle while the canopy is closed and the landing gear is up, so it's nothing to worry about. Right, we're going to come in on him again. I've been pulling really hard, so I really got to keep that in mind and watch out. Let's pull hard, try to get our guns on him. Oh, we got a hit and he's down. I think that's probably a pilot kill with how easy that goes. I don't remember Focke-Wulf 190s being that easy to take out. And we're seeing that the Allied aircraft we were fighting to help were a couple of P-47s. P-47s are a very massive fighter bomber. They are, from what I read, they're one of the most massive single-engine fighters of World War II. You could fit an entire P-51, this aircraft we're flying, inside of one of those P-47s. Alright, so you're going to fly to, I guess, the next intercept mark. Looks like I've got my bozos behind me still. At least on the map I see them. I'm going to throttle down a bit, do some lazy turns, and try to make sure that they can catch up. I don't see them. Where are you guys? Oh, they're high. That's why. Okay, so we've got more enemy aircraft from the map. It says they're off to our left. I don't see them yet. Or they should be more like over here, I think. So I'm gonna throttle up a bit and climb. Our supercharger changed to gear again. Oh, they should be just off our left now. I don't see them. Let's roll over and see if we can't see them below us. I don't see them down there. It certainly looks from the map that they're intercepting us. Oh, they're low. There they are. They are 3 twin-engine aircraft, BF-110s, it's now showing me. Let's roll over and we'll try to dive down on them for an attack. I'm going to drop the engine down so we don't over-rev the engine and so that we don't get going too fast. I'm going to have to break off of this because they saw me and they're turning. Let's regain our altitude and come back around. We sent them going a completely different direction, but they're coming back towards our territory, which is kind of good for us because that means they're in more danger when they're flying over our skies. Here we go. Let's try to line up on this guy. I think I missed all those. Let's try to break off because they have tail gunners, so we don't really want to follow them like a fighter, or like how we would on a fighter. These tail gunners are really accurate because you're not really moving too much relative to the target aircraft. Alright, let's try to go after this guy. Oh, we're about to black out, so we gotta let off the back pressure on the stick. And then we'll turn. Hi, Loveless, how are you doing? Oh, there's one coming at me. Oh, oh, oh God. Okay, that did not go well. I gotta turn this way. We're gonna disengage my. Okay, so they broke my mirror. They broke my gun sight. Ah, this is a bad day. Oh, he's still on me. We're gonna just go full throttle. Our engine's probably gonna die, but we're gonna try to shake this guy. We are leaking all manner of things. He's off of our left side, I think. Alright, so we at least brought him over friendly skies. We now gotta nurse our aircraft back to our airbase with a damaged engine to make that better. So I'm gonna try to get my engine out of combat mode. All of our instruments are damaged as well. It looks like they still work. We got one guy still trailing us, so we don't want to let off the acceleration quite yet. Let's check our map for better situational awareness. So yeah, so we got they're just trailing after me, of course. Leave me alone! Oh, this is not going to go great. They are really catching up on me. Oh, are they leaving me alone? Let's dive a little bit more. Try to maximize our space to disengage. He's going high. That other one I think is still coming after us. Yeah, he's still gaining on us. You can hear the wind through the holes in my canopy. Okay, it looks like all but one of them broke off. And the last guy broke off. Okay, we can try to get our engine mode back down to continuous and hope that our engine will last. We can see we're leaking fuel. Our canopy's starting to get obscured. And I need to get myself on a proper vector back to the airbase. So let's take a turn. We are down to less than 10 minutes of fuel. So we are leaking fuel. That's not good. But we are not too far away from our airbase. Let's take a look and see, is there any air bases closer? Not really. So we'll have to consider that there's a good chance we may have to ditch our aircraft. Or not ditch, but we may have to consider an off-field landing. Which I'm pretty hesitant to do off-field landings at the moment because pilots are taking a lot of damage from crash landings recently in the game. I've had a pilot who had barely any injuries on a very soft landing end up just dying, which really sucks. Alright, let's look out for the airfield. We should be able to see it soon, I think. Not that we can see that well. Actually, it is a bit farther away than I was thinking. I'm going to try to gain a little bit of altitude. And let's do flight leader orders, return to base, so that they're not flying in formation with me anymore. It'll give me a little bit more room to do whatever I need to do. I think I see that. Yep, that's the airbase right down there. So we're going to bank a little bit to the left and then try to line up on that runway. And if they follow the route they're supposed to, I think they should come in from a different landing direction, so it shouldn't be a concern to me. Alright, let's start throttling down. We're still a little ways out, so maybe I want to keep my throttle up. We'll open our canopy. That'll let us stick our head out to get a good look, since our canopy is getting covered. We also have this hole we can look through. Alright, let's line up with the runway. We gotta come left a little bit more. And our engine just cut out. Okay. We're doing this. I'm gonna close the canopy because I want as little drag since we have to glide this thing in now. Can we feather the engine? I don't think we can. Nope. That is something only bombers get, I guess. I need to come right a little bit. Let's adjust our pitch. Alright, pitch trim. Throw our landing lights on. I'm gonna have to be really, really late on dropping the landing gear to make sure I still have speed. Judging from the looks of this, this might be a difficult crosswind landing, but I don't have much of an option to come around. All right, we got enough speed. Let's drop our landing gear. We can do a little bit of flaps. Flaps 10, let's go. Flaps 20. Oh, we're diving down quite a bit. Let's get a little bit more flaps. I think we've got the energy for it. Let's get our pitch trimmed out. Pull hard, pull, pull, pull. All right. Bounced a bit. Try to stay on the runway. A little bit of left brake. And then we'll try to roll off the runway so we're not in the way. Well, we got some holes in us, but we survived. That's what matters, right? We will finish this mission. All right, so we finished the mission. The mission, of course, tells us that we got 2 aircraft shot down. I'm gonna switch back over to the campaign generator. Then we can go mission and we can do combat report because we have to finish up our mission and do the AAR. We'll continue with our claims. We claim 2 victories because we shot down 2 Focke-Wulf 190s. I think they were both A6s. And we will submit the report. And we'll see if we actually get our claims or the game thinks that. Uh-oh. Huh. I haven't seen that error before. Let's try again. Or cancel. Nope. Let's do combat report. Continue with claims. Let's try this again. Oops. I'll try rebooting this program. All right, let's go to our campaign. Let's try this one more time. Combat report. Continue with claims. 2 victories claimed. 2 Focke-Wulf 190s. Submit. Please. Pretty please? No? Ah. Well, we can... I'll debug that later. We can just go do another mission, I think. Or actually, let's go do... otherwise, it's going to give us roughly the same mission, I think. So let's instead... we can do some campaign configuration. Advanced flight, or no, it is fighter mission types, or no campaign preferences. Oh, yeah, save AI from itself. Yeah, we want that on. Aircraft numbers, no. Mission limits. Max access flights, 3, that should be fine. We'll accept all changes. Going to go to, what was it? Activity, and then leave. Yep. We're gonna just take 5 days of leave just so that we advance time. I do this on these missions to try to make it a little bit more quote unquote realistic, because otherwise you're getting like 300 shoot downs in your pilot's career. Well, you're still probably going to end up with that, but you get uh, less per day and week and such. Finished. All right, then let's do another mission. So we've got another interception mission. Let's go to our mission details and we'll edit this. Medium clouds. They are pretty low. They're at 1,500 meters. We have a lighter wind of 4 meters per second from 015. Go to the map. And so we're patrolling over here. Go to waypoints. We're up at 4,000 meters again. Looks pretty good. Pilots. We'll give ourselves the 4 pilots and we will accept the mission. Oh, I need to switch my plane out. And I gotta switch out the other pilot's planes. Because we've only got 2 P-51Ds, which might be a little pain, but if we can keep those around long enough for us to get later in the war and get more aircraft, we should be getting more P-51Ds. If not, then I might just have to buy the Normandy expansion and fly the P-51Bs. So we got another mission generating. We'll see what the RNG gods give us today for hunting. All right, back into IL-2. Let me transition over to IL-2. Oop, wrong one. There we go. And here we go, the next intercept mission. We'll start that one up. Hopefully this one's AIR will let us run and not get errors. All right, so we get another look at the patrol route. So it's pretty standard, although we are taking off from a different runway this time. I always find this a little odd that they take us off going into the wind because we're coming in at 15, but they land us going with the wind, which is usually not what you want. You want to take off and land into the wind. We'll go into modifications again. We'll drop that Bendix radio loop compass. We don't need that. I don't actually know how to use those that well. And then we will accept the mission and start. All right, so our rough pre-flight checklist. We will turn on our instrument lights because it's nice to have those. Let's see, do we have... we don't have a sun shield for our sight. That's just something I was checking. All right, we'll check controls. Tail. Everything's good. Prop RPM to 100%. Uh, fuel mixture is set to run. Pitch trimmer we're going to set to -20. That should fly us a little bit level with our gear down, which we want in case I look at chat so I don't take a nosedive during takeoff. We will throttle up with our brakes for a little bit and then release them. Try to stay straight on the runway. The nose down, tail up. We're at takeoff speed, and then we will roll.
Two, airborne. This is flight. Airborne. Over. Proceed with your mission.
And we'll get our engine set back into continuous flight, because we should have plenty of power on takeoff for this aircraft. I am so excited for the new Skytech that this game has been showing off. It's going to come in one of the next updates. It looks so much better than what we have now, and what we have now is already pretty good. But I think half of why ours looks... Oh, I gotta take my landing gear up. Alright, landing gear is raising up. I don't know where the landing gear indicators are on this aircraft. But it sounds like it's up now, so we're good. And it's giving me a watch engine coolant temperature warning, but the radiators are automatically controlled in this aircraft, so I don't have to care about that. I'm gonna swing out to our left because I know there's some friendlies under me and I don't want to get hit by them. Fly to our next waypoint. And we're gonna have the typical, pretty boring early mission, take off, climb, get into the AO. But since we're pretty close to the AO, that shouldn't take too long. Let me just check our aircraft from here. Looks good. Gonna turn left to our next waypoint. And we're climbing up into these clouds. I don't actually pay too much attention to my altimeter in this, but it's also in feet, so I don't know what that means offhand for the most part. We've got what seems like a lot less turbulence today. With our current heading, the front line should be off to our right here. We'll just scan it a little bit to make sure nothing's coming up on us. Don't see anything. Let's put our throttle up to basically as much as we can get away with, which is like 52 inches for manifold pressure, which is a fair bit higher than what we're supposed to be able to get. but I'm not going to complain about getting more engine power out of this aircraft. Watch engine coolant temperature. I can't really do anything about that. Well, I could switch the engine control to manual, but I don't feel like dealing with that. It's a very nice day to fly. There's only that slight crosswind, and everything else is very, very calm. Let me trim out my roll. And just that pitch trim just a little bit. Ground here. Huh. So fun fact about the P-51 is that if you look at it, you'll notice that there isn't much of the aircraft that's painted. It's actually just this bit on the nose that's painted, and then some of the markings are painted on it too, like the insignia and this information that's on it. That's done because paint weighs actually quite a bit on an aircraft. And by not having paint on most of it, you save quite a bit of weight and you make it a little bit faster. And since the aircraft are made out of aluminum, it doesn't really matter not having it painted. The only downside is it reflects a bit, but that really only lasts until the aluminum gets its layer of oxidation, and then it becomes kind of a dull color. Although we'll see those ones, the B models are painted, but the D model isn't. Alright, bye Loveless. Thanks for stopping by. I don't see any enemies yet. Oh, our radar is telling us that there are two straight ahead. We're hitting some high-level clouds, it looks like. So I'm going to try to use a little bit of combat mode, just get above these so we can see a little better. We can see, well, I can see a black dot. It is like 1 pixel. It's probably that enemy aircraft we're looking at. I definitely feel bad for viewers because I have clipped situations like this before, and I know that you guys can't see this. Like, no way in hell. But he is definitely there. Judging by the look, I think it is a twin-engine aircraft. So we're going to try to intercept it. I'm going to let my engine get back down into continuous mode. This P-51 does have excellent visibility, it seems. I know this area, like at the top of the cockpit, is not ideal. But everywhere else, it's got really good forward and down visibility compared to most other aircraft I've flown in this game. Okay, where did that guy go? I don't see him anymore. I'm just looking at the clouds. I thought I saw the clouds moving a bit more than they are. Alright, so we see those two aircraft. They're turning around to the right. We've got a flak burst, so that should indicate... Actually, that's probably flak shooting at us, I think. Let's push our nose down a bit to see if we can't find those contacts again. Oh, they are below me. It's a pair of Ju-88s. Those are nice pickings. Let's try to drop down onto them. Let me arm my guns this time. Oh, shit! Rip. F. We are going to restart that and try again. Oops. Trying to fly that like I'm used to on the MiG-3 and the LA-5. It definitely does not handle very similar to those. All right, everything is set up, so we're gonna go. I've earned a medal. What?
Cleared for takeoff. Taking off. Out.
All right, same takeoff procedure. We'll just go. I'm used to my aircraft pulling to the right as well, so my first reaction when I start rolling forward is to use left pedal instead of right pedal. We'll take off. Good.
Airborne.
Get our engine back into continuous mode.
3. Airborne. This is flight. Airborne. Over. Proceed with your mission.
Oh, let's get our landing gear up.
Airborne.
Landing gear seems so slow on this aircraft, though. Climb at 165 miles per hour. Sorry, when it's doing this, I'm scratching my head, as my track IR is a bit sensitive. Ah, Ju-88, man, that's slow as heck. I don't actually fly that many bombers. I've tried it a couple times, but it's always a bit too much to try to do all the bombardier calculations while trying to drop the bombs. I wonder if it'd be a lot easier if you had multiple crewmates. One of these days I should actually do tank gameplay, because I've got the Clash at Purkovka expansion, and tank play gameplay is quite a bit of fun. And tank gameplay, you actually have multi-crew, which is really cool. I played once in a server. We did, I think it was 5 people in a Sherman. Everybody but the loader. We had an AI loader. This loader doesn't really do anything. And I played around as the commander, and we had a lot of fun as people came in and tried to strafe our aircraft, and I get up on the 50 cal on top of the tank and try to take out the aircraft that are shooting at us. You know, one thing I've never actually checked, and the devs often comment on it, but in this game, you tend to not really fly out much in bad weather, because, especially on multiplayer servers, like most people are adverse to flying in bad weather conditions. And the vanilla campaigns rarely give you that much in terms of bad weather. You're typically given pretty good, pretty light crosswinds even. So I wonder if there are thunderstorms in this game. And I would completely understand if the devs just didn't add them, because hardly any aircraft in this era are going to willingly fly in thunderstorms. But it'd be interesting to see it. Oh, there are. Yeah, so I'll have to figure out if I can't get a mission with thunderstorms just to fly around and look at. Oh, can you actually change the weather in quick missions? I've never noticed that. I think when I started playing, they didn't have it, and I just haven't bothered to look for additional control options in the quick missions. What was it? I started playing this, I think, back in 2019, and that was before G-forces were a thing in this game. I'll have to go back and look at that then. After I managed to not kamikaze myself into bombers this time. Just a calming flight, very pretty sky to fly through today. As before, let's just try to climb above these thin clouds we have up here. Thank God I'm wearing my sunglasses, because that sun is bright. One thing that I'm really not used to in aircraft in this game is being able to read the instruments. Because up to now, like I've said, I've mostly flown Russian aircraft, but we have all of this stuff where it's like, hey, here's your manifold pressure, and it's a plate that tells you like all of this important information that you actually need to know. That's really handy. And you've also got that on the P-40, and it's like, here is your dive limit speeds, and your max dive speed, and your max dive engine RPM, and your flap restrictions. Oh, so I can actually have, wow, you can actually have 10 degrees of flaps at combat speeds. That is not something I expected, and I'll have to keep that in mind, because most aircraft in this the flaps aren't really designed for combat use, as far as I've been told. So I've not used combat flaps, but also my main aircraft has been the MiG-3, which doesn't really have flaps that favor the use of them in combat. In fact, the way the flaps work, it does not favor you needing to deploy more flaps after you have flaps deployed while landing, because you'll fall out of the sky. Right, I saw a glimmer of something out by that cloud. I can barely see him still. Okay. There's one high, one low. I think those are, yeah, these two aircraft we're seeing. I think the spotting system in this game has gotten quite a bit better from when I've last been playing seriously. Because right now, in zoomed out, I can see that there's, you know, little black lines. So I just know, hey, there's something over here I have to look at, and then I can zoom in and look for them again. So those are probably those two Ju-87s. Oh yeah, normally for aircraft specific stuff, I either, well, really I just learned it with the MiG-3 because I've flown the MiG-3 a lot, or when I'm not streaming, I normally have that Battle of X quick guide up that tells me all the information. Battle of X quick guide doesn't have the American planes in it though, so I just have a card that I wrote down that information on and I stuck it on my keyboard. Alright, where are those aircraft? Oh, I think I see their markers down here. Yep, there they are. That's another pair of Ju-88s, it looks like. So I'm going to make sure my guns are armed this time, and then I'm going to roll over. And we'll go for the trailing one. We are a little close, so I'm going to come off to the side, I think. Try to not pull too many Gs. Double check my speed to make sure I'm not going to fall apart. I'm too used to the Russian aircraft that fall apart way too easily. We might have scored a hit, I doubt it. I should have, is it left control R? There we go. Record a TAC view file just in case something interesting happens. We'll try to get in close. I'm not very good at bomber attacks, so I'm just going to try to kind of come in at long range and sweep them a couple times. Or come in from below. Oh, nope, that did not do that right. Whoa, whoa, pulling too hard. Let's try coming in from the side. We're really going to be coming in from behind, which is really not great because I don't want that tail gunner to get me. Let's break off. We took some hits, but I don't think anything got damaged. We can check behind us. We're not leaking anything, it looks like. Double check my engine RPM. So, you know, this is where I wish I had cannons instead of a 50 cal, because you can, especially if you've got nose-mounted cannons, you can open up from quite a ways away. Alright, so I'm going to try to get some separation from these guys. And I'll try to go a little high. And I'll try a front attack on them that I have seen videos on but have never tried. But considering how clear our AO is right in our immediate area, and these guys are engaged, it might be a safe option to try this out. Although it is going to require that they cooperate with me. I'm going to try to turn a bit more than them, and I'm going to try to stay on their right side. So we'll just come in. Let's go up to combat mode.
Target destroyed.
That was a big explosion. Did he just get hit by another aircraft? Like rammed? I think so. We'll have the TAC view file, so I can check that later. But I'll have to exit IL-2 to check it. So I won't be doing that on stream. Alright, I want to catch up with this guy, so we're going to go to emergency mode. Listen to that engine roar.
Caution. Caution.
Hey, Skull TRD, thanks for the follow. We'll have to push that master caution to reset it in a minute. Oh, he's shooting over my shoulder. Let's pop down and try to get out of that. Alright, he's leaking. I'm gonna leave him be. And now we're close to this furball. See some 109 G6s. Those should be easier to fight than those Focke-Wulfs I fought earlier. So let's come in on them. I could punch it to situational awareness. I saw a blue dot off my side and I was worried a fighter was coming in at me. This furball looks like we've got it pretty well handled. There's one straggler. I'll go after him. I'm not sure if I'll get him or if we'll get allies on him as well. But as long as we keep him preoccupied, that's good enough for me. We can fly like true World War II pilots and then just put everything into emergency mode the second you see an enemy and then stay there for the entirety of combat. But the game won't allow us to do that, so we'll lose our engines every time we do it. Alright, let's pull to stay with him. Gotta pull quite hard at this speed. I'm kind of wishing I had manual supercharger control. I'm sure I can, but I don't really want to. Because I want to shift it up a gear since we can't really get into emergency mode at the altitude I'm at. Oh, I think it just switched. Speak of the devil and it'll happen. There we go. So this is the G6 late, so he's got the methyl water 50 injection, I think. He might be dumb enough to just let us sit on his tail, so we'll see if we can't just close with him and get a shot. Closing with him pretty fast, so I'm going to throttle back a little bit. We'll open up a little early. Oh, we got some hits on him. I didn't think we'd really get any hits. I don't know if we had any good effect on him, though. I'm losing situational awareness because I'm not really paying attention to anything behind me. But we'll excuse some target fixation for a bit. Check our tail. We got a friendly on us, so we'll have to keep that in mind because he might be shoulder shooting. We've only gotten straight hits behind him, and behind him is a lot of armor and I think cooling systems, so we may not have really done any serious damage to his aircraft with those hits we got. And he's now doing the German pilot special. I don't know if that's a real thing or if it's just the AI doing it, but they like fly inverted and pull down. It definitely does throw you for a loop a bit because you don't expect them to be turning the way they are in that orientation. We'll try to close with him again. We'll give him some more burst to make sure that he's going down. I'll try to aim for the root of the wing. Throttle up a bit more. Okay, we're getting pretty fast. I'm gonna just pull up. I'm gonna hang up higher. Because from the way he's maneuvering, or the way he's not maneuvering rather, I think he might be going down. We can try to take out this guy who's on our ally's tail. Roll over, pull up. Throttle back. We timed that, I think, a little bit too late, so we didn't get a good shot on him. I'm kind of losing my situational awareness and orientation at the moment, trying to get myself onto this guy. Here we go. Turn, pull into him. We'll open up a little early. Got a good burst onto him. And he's down. Good. Let's break off. Look for another target. There's one up high. Let's try to not use too much more emergency mode because we've been in combat mode. And combat mode and emergency mode, if I remember correctly, share timers to an extent. There we go. We get the kill confirmation on that guy. We've got one guy low, then this guy high. These guys probably have that guy taken care of. We'll go for the guy flying low. It's another BF-109. Try to dive down on him. Come on, just a bit more. No, no good. I'm not great at gunnery right now. Let's try to break off so we don't hit him. We're gonna overshoot him. Let's try to pull up so we don't overshoot him. I should have done a lag roll to not overshoot him when I was diving down on him, but we'll remember that for the next time we do this. Alright, we'll just try to stay with him for now. Closing with him. I think I'll try to save that emergency mode. We'll just close with him for a little bit, so we are still gaining on him. He's on fire. Good. Man, these 50 cals are a lot better than the Russian 50 cals that I'm used to. I usually have such a hard time shooting down 109s in the MiG-3. But in the MiG-3, you've only got 2 of 50 cals, whereas this has 6. Yep, he's down. It's another good kill. And it looks like we got more targets up to our right, so let's start engaging. You know what, I think that's that guy we were engaging earlier. We're going to... I'm trying to throttle back and get us back into continuous engine mode, but I need to adjust my prop RPM for that. So let's get the prop RPM adjusted down to 2700. We can go up to about 55 inches of boost. And we can see these, there's a flight of 4 here, and then a straggler. I'm going to try to get the straggler without waking up that flight of 4. He should be low and to our left. There he is. We can try to just dive down on him. Gain speed through that. We'll throw our engine into max combat mode without adjusting our RPM. Oh, let's get out of emergency mode. And we'll throw our RPM back up. We're gaining on him pretty quick, looks like. Let me adjust my pitch trim. Let's just check our map. So we're going to have to cross enemy lines to do this, but that's not too much more than... Probably not any more than what we were going to do for our typical intercept mark. Man, we are going pretty darn fast. We're gonna have to actually throttle back to make sure we don't really approach our VNE speed. We've got a low level wind that we didn't have at high level, so I got to use some left pedal to correct that. Actually got to use quite a bit of left pedal, and I think we're getting some turbulence here. Alright, we are losing speed, so we'll throttle back up. What are those flying above me? I can't see them. Well, we are going to be flying into a whole bunch of flak. I hope these gunners are not on their game today. Please don't hit me, please don't hit me. Alright, alright. Try to line up for a quick shot. We got a hit. I don't think we really did anything though. It looks like we hit his right cooler again. I'm always very hesitant to try to do too many fancy diving maneuvers at these low of altitudes because I might just lose situational awareness and hit the ground. Let's drop like 10 degrees of flaps. That'll slow us down a little bit to try to stay behind this guy. Alright, let's pull those back up. Oh, there's our... Oh! Oh god. We just took a hit from something. Our yaw trimmer rods are jammed. Alright, let's head back towards the south. I'm gonna actually... Oh boy. Oh boy. Our aircraft is not handling well. Oh no. Oh, our rudder is gone. Oh, jeez. Okay. So, yeah. Mistakes were made. Mistakes were made. Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. Oh, come on. Stay with it, stay with it. Stay with me. Yeah. That was not good. This thing cannot fly without a freaking rudder and vertical stabilizer. Damn. We got greedy and it bit us. Alright, I think I'm going to try that mission one more time. Actually, this is... Oh, this mission's cursed. This is the third time we're trying the same mission, isn't it? Ooh. Alright, we'll give it one more try, and then I think I'm gonna end stream after that, because it's been 2 hours. Trying to stream flight sims is a bit taxing. Alright, let's get everything set to take off. Alright. Swung out a bit to the left on that start, but we're doing pretty well. Takeoff speed achieved. Oh, pull. I didn't set my pitch trim, so I'm trimmed down with the landing gear. Get our RPM set back up. And throttle back down. A while back, before I started streaming flight sims, I had a very, very cursed P-40 mission that I was trying to do. It was just a bomber intercept mission, and no matter what I did, I would either get killed by the bomber gunners, rammed into by friendlies, or I would end up running into the bombers. And it was horrible. I tried the mission like 10 times, and I just said, nope, not doing it. And eventually I took off on the mission and just flew back to base and landed. Like, yeah, AIs, you can handle it, because I don't want to die. Alright, and next waypoint. Okay, I'm just gonna say screw the waypoints, and I'm just gonna fly straight to the enemy AO. Let's make sure we're not in combat mode. Fix our pitch trimmer. But we'll try to use as much engine power as we can. It is kind of convenient that I can go up to like 55 inches of manifold pressure, because that's right about where my throttle detent is for afterburner. So it means that I can just throttle up to that and I have a positive stop unless I want to push harder and then get into combat mode, which is what a lot of these were supposed to have. I remember reading the book Fly for Your Life about a RAF pilot who flew Spitfires and Hurricanes during World War II, primarily the Battle of Britain. And it was about the pilot Robert Stanford Tuck. He got shot down and like crash landed a whole bunch of times, survived a midair collision and everything. But in his book, he's always talking about how they see the enemy and then he says, I pushed the throttle through the emergency seals, and they just went full throttle like the entire time during the engagements. There are also other interesting accounts of certain U.S. pilots being interested and I guess also upset with the engine limitations that are set in the manuals for their aircraft, and they say, screw it, we're just going to fly in top engine power all the way from like our mission across the English Channel into our UK airbase, and the aircraft's completely fine. But even though there are stories of that, it is really hard without the ability to test multiple modern or multiple new aircraft. It's hard to validate that, because you might not hear about the story where some other guy does it and he doesn't make it back. Alright, so we're getting into the AO a bit sooner than we were before. And we can see that there are 4 aircraft. Well, I saw there were 4 aircraft up there for a second. I can barely see one now. But we can see them on the map as well. Some smoke coming from the city down there. Those aircraft are going back behind their lines, so I might not pursue them this time, because flak be deadly, and I would like to keep my tail this time. You've got a flight of 2 flying. I think 2 are left. Yeah, they're coming back into our territory, so we're going to go up and intercept those guys. I lost track of them. Oh, I see one. And you can see the flak bursts. That's friendly A shooting at these guys. I think those are the Ju-88s again. If they are, I want to come in from the side to get my initial burst. So we're going to slam our throttle forward and have nothing change. Let me fix the RPM instead. Yep, that looks like a pair of Ju-88s. We're going to go after the front one. We might not be able to catch the front one, so let's go after the rear one. fly alongside, try to catch up, and then we'll roll over and try to get him. Oh, I shot under him. Damn it. Alright, we can try again. At some point, I will have to study the blind zones of various aircraft so I know how to properly approach bomber attacks. Alright, he's leaking something. I think that should be good enough. Let's dive down, and we'll try to come up at this guy from below. Try to keep in mind where that other guy is so I don't pop up and hit him. Let's go to emergency mode. I completely missed him, didn't I? I'm not going to try to stay on his tail because that gunner will probably get me. Let's come around and try to hit either of them again. I think we got a hit on his engine. Oh, they bailed out. Yeah. Good. Let's come up for the next one. Now we may be out of convergence, but the 50 cal round still can deal some pretty good damage. Now we're actually inside of our convergence range. We put some good rounds into his engine, but he's still flying. He just dropped his bombs to try to get away faster. I think that's... I would consider that a mission success because we did deny the enemy being able to strike on our targets. But I am going to be bloodthirsty again and probably regret it and try to get a kill. His gunner is shooting at us. Alright, I think I'm going to let you live today. You're no longer a threat, and I don't want to try to be engaging a bomber while there's two more aircraft. Actually, those look like two more bombers. They're twin engine, certainly. Oh, yeah, another pair of Ju-88s. Let's intercept those guys. We'll go up to full emergency mode to try to catch up. Let's just check where we are. We're still a good distance from the front line, but there are some enemy fighters out further in front of me. Or at least I'm going to assume that they're fighters, because I'd rather assume that they're the worst. Let's go for another attack from below. And we got this guy joining their formation, which is going to make things a little more tricky, I think. The guy on the right's gunner was shooting at me. We got his right engine. I really should be going for the left engines, because the left engines are, if they lose that, it's a lot harder to fly the aircraft. Come around for another strike on that second guy. You got to be aware of that ally who's shooting at these aircraft. He lost some parts. Let's dive down below him. Our guns are out of ammo, looks like. Since our guns are out of ammo, we're gonna. Well, I'm gonna break off. Let's get a bearing back to base. Come on, map, move with me. So we are good enough on a bearing back to base. Let's go orders, flight leader orders, return to base. I'm lucky that only up to F7 is used in this game, because F8 is my shiny eye expression. We're going to maintain combat engine mode for a little bit. Just try to get myself some distance to make sure that I don't have to deal with anybody. Hi, Ixie. You finished Terraria. I am on my third attempt at this mission because it is cursed. Let's see. We did get one JU-87 or JU-88 shot down though, and this third attempt. I think this is going to be my last mission for the day once we're done. Oh, let's, we got some distance. Let's put our engine back into continuous mode. Yeah, the first time I dropped in to intercept some JU-87 or JU-88s, and I smacked into one of them and died. The second time, I shot down a pair of BF-109s, and then I was chasing a third back into his own territory, and then flak took my entire rudder off, and aircraft can't fly without rudders. So I was doing okay with the rudder, or without the rudder, but then I entered a spin and just kind of threw my hands up because you can't really exit a spin without a rudder. Let's check our tail to make sure nobody's following us back to base. Looks good. Let's put a little bit of roll trimmer since we keep rolling. Actually, I need to use some rudder because we've got a crosswind. Take some screenshots of the pretty clouds. Oh, I need to be slowing down and I need to be losing some altitude. Leave my engine just a bit above idle so I don't get that alarm to deal with. I want to drop below the clouds so I can actually see my airfield. Let's see, there it is. I should be pretty much lined up. So let's open our canopy. I think we're going too fast to open the canopy. We'll try flaps 10. And we'll also try doing some turning to bleed off some of the speed that we've got because we are at about 300 miles an hour. Let's try opening the canopy again. Yeah, we are able to open it this time. Let's see. Landing gear not to be deployed over 170. We're at about 200. We can drop some more flaps. And now we can do landing gear, and that will slow us down a lot more. We're definitely coming in a bit too high. But I think we're going to lose out that speed just fine. And now I'll just do a circle in front of the runway here. We'll lose some altitude. Try to have some good practice and not get too fixated on landing the aircraft at detriment of quality of landing. Although not that my landings are ever really all that good. Alright, let's line up with the runway again. I think you missed earlier me losing fuel and then landing without my engine. Although the engine cut out pretty much right after I lined up with the runway, so it was a little harrowing, but not too bad. Honestly, engine out landings are in some ways a little bit easier because you don't have to deal with all the torque forces from the engine as you land. Because your aircraft, when you land and you're throttling down, it'll try to like pull to the side and everything. But if your engine's off, there's no torque. You don't have to worry about it. We'll flare for our landing. Throttle to idle. We bounced. And we're down. Let's bring the flaps up. Yeah, I land like a Navy pilot. I always bounce. I bet my crew chiefs love the damage to the landing gear. Ooh, is that a P-47 I see? Oh, I should not be trying to turn at this speed. Here we go. We'll turn here. Look, it's a P-47. Yep, you can see all the controls move in this. And on this aircraft, you actually have differential toe brakes. So I can hit my right pedal and I can brake to the left and right. Those make the game, those make taxiing handle a lot better in aircraft in general. The Russian aircrafts, they just have a singular brake button, and then they apply differential braking force based off of what your rudder angle is. And I don't like that nearly as much. Alright, we will finish this mission. I think we only get to claim one aircraft. It'll tell us that. Yep, 1 heavy aircraft. That -1 claim? Why -1? Alright, let's see if combat report will work. Continue with claims. Claim 1, JU-88. Submit. Hey, it worked. We can start the debrief. And we see there's that JU-88 that I brought down. Is that all that happened in this AO? That's not much. Because normally it lists everything that got shot down in this area. Yep, debrief completed. I get a notification of victory. And that's that. Alright. These are always more taxing than I expect when I'm streaming them. Because it's trying to... There's a whole fighter pilot mindset thing. You've got an OODA loop, and you're trying to basically play chess in real time. So I'm going to end the stream here. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Thank you again, Soyu, Feetman, and Skull TRD for the follows. I'm not entirely sure when I'm going to be streaming next. It's definitely going to be next week. I have to figure out what my streaming schedule is and what games I'm going to be playing. But I look forward to seeing you all next stream. Thank you.